Hello everybody, welcome back. Got another game here from the Northumbria Blitz qualifier. I was playing against Toby Quaite, and I think he's somebody who actually hasn't been playing chess for very long. From what I can see of his rating, his rating was quite low only like 2 or 3 years ago, so he's made massive improvements. Probably one of the most promising players in that tournament in terms of his future chances, I would say, if he continues to improve at the same rate. Obviously, at some point you might plateau, right? That's always a danger, you know. But it seems to play a fair amount. I played him also in a tournament in Sheffield recently. I think that's the key to improvement as well. Play a lot over the board, get a lot of experience. The great Hans Niemann was talking about this yesterday. That in order to get better, you have to face better opponents. You know, he said playing in opens is not helping my chess. I need to play in proper tournaments against the best players in the world, and that's how I get better. He said playing these matches isn't really helping my chess. You know, where I need to improve. Playing tournaments like the Grand Swiss, which is an open, but it's a very strong open, where you got play people like Nordic Prague, Gukesh, Perugia, and so on. That's going to help his chess. So yeah, I think this Toby Quaite is getting a lot of good experience, but he still, in my opinion, lacks experience, as we'll see in this game. So I'm not sure about the move order here. I probably forgot exactly what move order we played the opening moves, but we did. I think we did get this position, and I took with the idea that I didn't want him to. I thought maybe knight d2 actually more accurate. You know, in order to take back the knight, often when you put the bishop there, like if you get the chance to, you should play knight d2 to take back the knight. But of course, taking here should be fine for White. You know, so what's a good move here? I think he made a slight mistake here. Made a move which looks to me a bit anti-positional. I thought knight d2 was the move. That looks like a logical way to continue. If knight c3, I think might be inaccurate because move knight e5. Although he may have some way of getting out of this, because it reminds me of a similar trick in another variation, and you get a better position like this, because if he takes, you can just take on b2 and you're doing very well. You could even take back there and you're doing well there as well, because of all the white weaknesses in the position. But so that wouldn't be a good variation for white, I don't think. But knight d2, queen b3 also a move as well. Knight d2 looks logical, and the game is continuing. You know, not sure what black plays here, because if rook e8 actually, then you can go queen b3. He's already putting pressure here, because you want to go e5. That's often when I play games against a computer, it goes knight a6 and then puts knight on c7, so you can get this e5 break in. Now, if you go you can go e6 and hold, but then what's your plan long term? It's not clear. So anyway, none of that happened because he went e4, which I think was a little bit rash. And but here actually I made a mistake, because I did check this game with the engine later, and I checked some of it. I think knight e8 was a move. Again, like Blitz, you don't have time to think, and yeah, it really, in general, white doesn't want to. Also, a5 was an option as well. White doesn't want to exchange the bishops here, the dark square bishop particularly, because it loses the bishop pair. But again, you know, what's your alternative? Because okay, if you take, then black's doing very well. I think, you know, there's ideas like e5, knight e6, knight d4, or just knight e5 simply. And if you go knight c3 instead, then I think knight e5 might be quite annoying for white. For example, one option. Now, if they go bishop e2, maybe now you can trade and go knight d6. Might be annoying for white. I don't know. I mean, I just remember it saying knight e8 was a good move here. Also, a5 was quite reasonable, but I went queen c7, which is slightly inaccurate. So this is a critical position. I went rook a d8. I think initially when I entered the game I put rook fd8, but I did play rook ad8. But in this position, actually I was thinking about this position in my head later. And I'm thinking, like, how can he defend this? And I actually found this without the computer, that the best move is bishop e2, which is fairly obvious actually, because it doesn't fall for the same trick that White fell for in the game. And actually White is doing well now, because f4 is coming. So White has the bishop pair, all the pawns are defended. I mean, you can take on d2 and take on e4, but then you're just losing probably. Queen e3 or something. You know, it's just like nothing. You just get one pawn, that's it. For the exchange, so White's threatening f4 and then e5 with expansion, which would be very good for White. So imagine you play a variation like king h8, f4. Okay, admittedly there is knight g4 there, which is kind of murky. But let's say the knight went back to d7, then e5, knight e8, knight e4, just to show that variation. You know, this is the sort of thing that White wants, because got complete control, got a space advantage, could put the knight on f3 or e4, wherever you want to put it, bring the rook to d1, you just slowly build up, you've got a great position. You could maybe attack more directly, you could play maybe like c5, knight c4 is also possible. It's a dream position for White. This is what White's aiming for in these kind of positions. You've got complete control, but after bishop e2, actually, the top move is g5. Again, you know, it's something you learn when you analyse with computers a lot. That they're very happy to push their pawns in front of their king. Something that I need to absorb as well, because I'm not seeing these moves myself. I'm thinking, oh, g5, you know, it looks too weakening, a weakening f5 square. But having said that, f5 square is not that relevant here, because I could always go e6. So it does weaken that square slightly, but I can always go e6, which is quite an important point. So if he ever gets a knight to f5, you know, I can always prevent that. I can always try and prevent that by going e6 at some point. So the main point is you're playing against his plan, which is f4. If he goes f4 now, I guess it's more of a double-edged thing, because maybe again you can consider knight g4, or maybe even knight g6 as an option now. Probably knight g4 is what the computer would want to do. It's not clear how he prevents the invasion on e3. If e3, then knight e3 is probably quite good. If rook f3, maybe then rook d2 might be a better version of that same exchange sack, possibly, potentially. I don't know, because yeah. Anyway, so that was one option. G5, I probably would have got G5. I'm almost certain I would have got G5. Actually, I think he wanted. Sorry, I think he wanted to throw this in first and then do this. And yeah, I mean, you know, you've got some kind of foothold in the centre now on D4 square. That makes sense as well. But you've also weakened d5. But like I say, because that pawn has not moved from e7, you could always go e6 and cover f5 and d5, which I think is quite an important point. But anyway, none of that happened, because he blundered here. He went bishop g2, which is, I think, already a losing blunder, because now rook d2. But his White doesn't have a bail up, because after bishop takes e5, there's this. Now rook c4 is very good for black, but there's also knight e8. That's what I'd seen in the game. And then you lose the exchange as well, which is obviously very bad for White, and then just losing. So in this position, he was obliged to take, and then I took. Now it's a losing position. I mean, I was wondering whether he could sort of trap the knight, but the problem is, I think I can always go. This might be the best option, right? Now he's threatening rook b2. Let's send me the knight to d7 though. I'm now threatening b5 and extricate the knight. If he takes on b2, he's just pawn down for nothing, I would say. So probably that's good enough to win. I don't know. Not very exciting. But he played queen c3. Sorry, after knight c4, he went queen c3, and f4 was played. Yeah, because the point is, if you take here, I mean, of course, I can still go 97, but I think you just take here, actually, and then you win another ball. And then that's really, like, this is hopeless, obviously, because you're too much material down. Rook d8 would win. So you tried e5, and then, but then now it's just, like, dead. And then, obviously, knight a4 is good enough, but I went rook d8, with the idea that rook b2, rook d1 is forced mate, and queen b2, rook d1 wins the queen, or even rook d2, or even queen b2 and rook d1. So he resigned. So that was a nice clean win, I thought, for me. Even though I went slightly wrong with queen c7 and knight e5. Obviously, you're not going to play a perfect game of chess at Blitz. It's not going to happen. So I was quite happy, but I think with Toby, it was a little bit lack of experience that in this situation, when I went rook d8, he should have maybe, even though it's Blitz, you should at some point like pause a little bit, and then you know, critical moment. I think that's maybe where the experience is lacking. It's just to pause and then think about the position a little bit. I got into time trouble, actually. The one game I got into time trouble was against a female player, and I forget her name now, but she's from one of these Baltic states. Let me look her name up. Hang on, I should be able to figure this out. Sorry, my memory is really bad. She qualified for the final. So chess results. She's a pretty decent player. She was up there. She finished third or something like that. But my game against her was really tough. Okay, here we go. Right, yeah. Madara Orlovska. That sounds a bit like a Ukrainian name because there's Lisa Orlova, who's from Ukraine, Orlovska, but she's from Latvia actually, so similar. There's also Gustavo Leon Cazares. I'd say Michael Fernandez was probably the second best player there, and he was doing well to begin with. We were tied for the lead after we drew, and I was getting a bit worried that he would end up winning the tournament, because obviously that's out of my control then, that he might just win all these other games, but obviously that's unlikely to happen. You know, you're not going to win all your games. I didn't win all my games, and he did drop some, and I think he tilted a bit because he lost to Jude. He's quite a dangerous player, quite a dangerous attacking player. He lost to Jude, and then he kind of tilted a little bit because I could tell when he was playing against Gustavo, who's a Mexican player, that he was pissed off, and then he withdrew after he lost that game, I think, or one of the rounds shortly after that. But overall, yeah, it was a fun tournament. Enjoyed it. Now the question is when. We don't know what the dates are for the final, when it will be. If it's early December, I can definitely make it. Oh no, hang on. So I've got a tournament late November. So it depends when the final is. I've got to take a tournament late October, late November, early December in Spain, Benidorm, but which actually clashes with London Classic, which is annoying because that means, you know, I can't do both. I like to play London Classic as well, but what I was going to say was, yeah, we don't know when the final for the UK Blitz. It might be mid. If it's mid-November, that's fine. Yeah, it could be on a date I can't make, you know. But I'll try and play, and obviously you want to play tournaments like that because you get a chance to play people like Quaite, Shreyas, you know, Super Tip, people like that, and get better players in England. You know, that's what why is you playing chess? If you're just playing chess just to play weekenders and take pies to avoid the dangerous players, then why are you even bothering, right? You know, you should be trying to take on the better players, because otherwise what's the point? Might as well get a job as a postman or something like that. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Please leave your comments down below. Please like and subscribe. What do you think about these Blitz qualifiers? Do you think they're enjoyable or not? They're quite stressful, I must admit.